sustainable minimum wage. NLC insists states can pay proposed minimum wage. Woman to die by hanging for killing husband in Port Harcourt. NSA orders enforcement of cyber crimes law. And on the foreign scene, Turkey holds trade with Israel over Gaza tragedy. I'm Ifichukumoyle with the news. The Nigeria Governors Forum says it is yet to conclude work on what the state can sustainably pay. Now, this comes as conversations for a new minimum wage for workers in Nigeria rages on. A statement issued by the chairman of the forum, Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak, said as members of the 37-member tripartite committee for the national minimum wage, which is yet to conclude its work, the governors are reviewing their fiscal space to see the consequential impact of the various recommendations. The governors, however, said they remain committed to the process and promised that better wages will be the outcome of the ongoing negotiations. In the meantime, the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC is insisting that the proposed 615,000 naira minimum wage is realistic, dismissing claims that some states cannot pay such an amount if approved. NLC President Joe Ajero, in an interview on Channels Television, said most of the states that have shown a willingness to pay are not among those that are getting the highest revenue. Some Nigerians have faulted the ongoing 615,000 naira minimum wage negotiations between the NLC and the federal government. Speaking on Nigeria Info FM's Morning Crossfire, they said the proposed minimum wage is not in the interest of workers.
They do not make the majority of Nigerians as far as labor is concerned. They do not. So they should put us in their scheme of work. Let it not be a self-centered something, labor all the time.
Their first position is to fight for themselves and before they can now see. Please, we are begging you people, after the government have attended to you, look up to the plight of Nigerians.
Instead of minimum wage, let's talk about a living wage, because even the minimum wage we are talking about, we have not been able to achieve it. So how can we continue to talk about minimum wage? And if you see the kind of labor we have, they are not sincere in demanding that because they don't have the capacity in sustaining even the 615,000 they are talking about. They don't have the capacity.
Responding, NLC Chairman in Rivers State Alex Agwanwa says the position of organized labor is to address current economic challenges.
No, but we are talking about living wage. We are not talking anymore. We're talking about a living minimum wage, a wage that can take somebody home, a wage that can sustain somebody. Like what we have before is a far cry that nobody can defend. Nobody can live with 30,000 naira cannot take you anywhere. So that's what they're asking for, and I think that is where we are.
Labor unions and the federal government have since been locked in negotiations over measures, including a new minimum wage to cushion the impact of the harsh economy. Moving on, at least two unknown task force officials were arrested on Thursday after they beat up a tanker driver for refusing their demand for inspection of his tanker loaded with petroleum product along the Elios-Rumokoro axis of the East-West Road in Port Harcourt. Our correspondent reports that the two men, who were accompanied by 4 police officers, seized the tanker. Their refusal to allow the tanker to leave the road caused heavy traffic. When asked to identify themselves and the union they represent, they declined to speak to our correspondent.
Abel, let him do this man to go. We will see who what do you do? No more than here. Do not this. One of your man, let us enter my motor. Then us. Let us go to the station. We are going. This man, come on, carry the motor now. Officer, how do we go to the station? Number 1, number 2, and his men. That is the CPC. All of us. Where's me? Why did you say I'm going to go to the station? We are coming. We are going to that place. You carry on motor. Carry on motor. Okay.
Chairman of the Petroleum Product Retailers Outlet Association of Nigeria, Petrowan, Francis Dimba, who was at the scene with his members who are also filling station owners, spoke to our correspondent.
This is not the first time, this is not the second time our trucks are being hijacked. The DPRO, DSS, Nigerian Army, Nigerian Police, they have all been supporting us and helping us on how to unravel the secret behind the jacking of trucks. But just this afternoon, a group of people yet to identify said they are from somewhere and they are jacking trucks and want to know who they are. So the DPO said all of us should come to the station. So when we get to the Rumokoro police station, they will identify themselves and we know where we go from here. But for a member, for PTD, for Nupeng, this matter will be followed to the logical conclusion.
Now, the matter was later taken to the Divisional Police Station in Rumokoro and has been transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department. The injured tanker driver was taken to a hospital for treatment. The situation left commuters plying Eliozu and Rumokoro axis stranded, as many opted for alternative routes. Away from that, as World marks Press Freedom Day today, the Nigerian Guild of Editors says media freedom, freedom of expression, and access to public information are crucial to democracy and must be at the heart of Nigerian government values and actions. President of the Guild, Eze Anaba, and the General Secretary, Iyobosa Owugiaren, in a statement, requested the National Assembly to initiate and adopt a law to protect journalists who speak out on matters of public interest, especially against abusive and strategic lawsuits which are regularly initiated to silence them. Still to come, woman to die by hanging for killing husband in Port Harcourt. Stay with us.
Stay updated with all the current news. From policies to politics, economy.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
You're welcome back, and now the rest of the news. A state high court in Port Harcourt has sentenced Thelma Bestman and Wilson Okeleke to death by hanging for collaborating to kill Thelma's husband, Bestman Wabara. Recall that Thelma was charged with conspiring with their security guardman, Wilson Okeleke, to kill her husband, Bestman Wabara, at their residence along St. John's axis of Rumolumeni, Obogoro Road on 20th February 2020. In a judgment, Justice Augusta Chukwu held that the prosecution was able to prove the case of conspiracy and murder against the convicts. The court also held that the evidence revealed that Mrs. Thelma opened the door for Mr. Okeleke to enter the room. Lawyer to the River State Ministry of Justice, Precious Odo, spoke after the judgment.
We are happy. They can't eat their cake and have it. They can't just kill an innocent man, a full-fledged man, and then expect to go scot-free. The law doesn't allow that. So we are happy that the judgment went this way. We expected it. By God's grace, we have also gotten it today, by His grace.
Also, Ubojekere Amadi, lawyer to Wilson Okeleke, said he will appeal the judgment.
Well, naturally, I will appeal the judgment because we are not satisfied with the judgment of the courts. We will study the judgment of the courts, then we'll do the needful. We are not satisfied with the judgments.
In another development, the National Security Advisor NSA Nuhu Ribadu has directed all law enforcement agencies, regulators, businesses and stakeholders to begin the full implementation and enforcement of the Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Amendment Act 2024. A statement by the Head Strategic Communications Office of the NSA, Zakari Mijiyawa, said all impediments to the full operationalization of the cybercrimes law have been addressed. Elsewhere, some protesters from Zamfara State have occupied the entrance to the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), calling on the commission to reopen investigations on the former governor of the state, Bello Matawale. The protesters, under the auspices of APC Loyalist Forum, is asking the EFCC to investigate all petitions against the former governor, including the alleged contract diversion up to 70 billion naira during his tenure as governor of the state. The EFCC Director of Public Affairs, Wilson Owujare, who received the protest letter on behalf of the chairman, assured the protesters that the commission is determined to pursue every corruption case to a logical conclusion. And now in business, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, says the huge purchase of foodstuffs by the government as palliatives is contributing to the galloping food inflation in the country. He stated this in his contribution during the March Monetary Policy Committee, which was published on the website of the CBN. Now, the MPC increased the benchmark interest rate to 24.75% from 22.75%. The National Bureau of Statistics has also said the surge in food inflation could be attributed to rising prices for items such as gari, millet, yam tuber, water yam, and others. In entertainment, a Nigerian bride has recounted how her pastor told her to remove her lashes during her church wedding. Jessica Oka, the bride, said this on TikTok, mentioning that the pastor had raised the issue of her eyelashes before the wedding day. She, however, says she forgot. In sports, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp says that his argument with Mohamed Salah has been resolved. Salah clashed with Klopp as he was about to come on during last weekend's 2-2 draw at West Ham.
And now we bring you news from around the world.
Turkey has suspended all trade with Israel over its offensive in Gaza, citing the worsening humanitarian tragedy in the Strip. The Turkish Trade Ministry said the measures would be in place until Israel allowed an uninterrupted and sufficient flow of aid into Gaza. Israel's foreign minister accused Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of acting like a dictator.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
That's a wrap on the news this afternoon. Before we go, let's have a look at the major stories. State governors say they are working on a sustainable minimum wage. The NLC is insisting that states can pay the proposed 615,000 naira minimum wage. A woman will die by hanging for killing her husband in Port Harcourt. The NSA has ordered the enforcement of the cybercrimes law. On the foreign scene, Turkey has stopped trade with Israel over Gaza tragedy. The news was edited by Martha Okirinkem. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. I'm Ifechukwu Monyele. Many thanks for listening.